So I had a interesting conversation, phone call. My bank called me, and needless to say, it wasn't good. At the same time, I had a chat with a friend yesterday, and it's funny how these two things tie together. But apparently, we need to move. We need to move, and we need to move very, very quickly. Move away from Florida. Now, granted, some of you may have watched a video that I put up a few days ago about getting our van ready for full-time van life, traveling, and potentially selling everything and moving to Texas. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out after you watch this video. But Michelle and I have somewhat come to an agreement on uncertain terms that we would probably leave Florida and head to Colorado. And we just think Colorado is beautiful. Now, everything else that comes with Colorado, don't eat me up. Don't light me up in the comment section down below. We just like the way Colorado looks. We enjoy driving through it. That's about as much of an extent that we have with any knowledge of Colorado whatsoever. We didn't really love downtown Denver, but we would be looking to be on the outskirts, enjoying the scenery, the land, the landscape, maybe steering clear of some of those wind turbines, although most of them aren't even really spinning, so it's really not that big of a deal. Interestingly enough, when we were on our trip last year, we stopped to look at the turbines and take a picture and some video. And we were stopped by the local law enforcement. That was an interesting ordeal. But excuse me from being sidetracked here. Not trying to be rude. I know your time is valuable. So let me tell you exactly what the conversation was yesterday. And the conversation yesterday was, you need to move to Utah. So Stephen Gardner told me, he says, Kevin, y'all need to move to Utah. Now, Utah, we've been once. And the only time we've ever been to Utah is because Stephen Gardner lives in Utah. So we went to go meet him and hang out in Utah. And then we ended up going skiing and snowboarding and a few other things while we were there. It was fun. It was fun. Now, I do know that there are a lot of other content creators, YouTubers that live in Utah and they prefer Utah, one of which being the Stradman. And I think Luke Terry's over there too. But we don't have a lot of information with Utah. So I don't know if we would put that on the list. But maybe we'll take the Jeep. Maybe we can drive Michelle's Jeep to Utah and hit Moab. I think Moab's out there. That would be fun. Nothing crazy. We're not trying to flip the Jeep over or destroy it rock climbing. But just take it out and just, pedal around a little bit. But either way, we've got a few more months left on our lease here. And we're looking at the real estate market. We're looking at the economy. We're looking at the political landscape. We're looking at a lot of varying factors here that could potentially drive us to make a decision, a choice of what we want to do, where we want to be, where we want to end up. What makes the most sense? What is going to be in our best interest? What's the safest option? But the banks probably, or probability is what it says, is that U.S. banks will restrict cash withdrawals. And this is according to a macroeconomic guru. Now, this is important because these are U.S. banks. These are big U.S. banks, Wall Street banks. And it says that banking customers could one day face restrictions on the amount of cash that they can withdraw. So this would be no different than other countries preventing bank runs by just shutting off cash withdrawals. And according to this guru, America's banking industry will likely witness a further deposit flight. And this is in relation to the deposit flight that we've been seeing here recently with some of these Silicon Valley banks, SVB, Signature, First Republic, and the FDIC and U.S. Treasury stepping in to try to prevent this from tearing our faith-based banking monetary system apart. Which then means that, for me, it means, hey, we need a backup plan. We need a solution. Much like trying to decide where we're going to live, which option would be the best and the safest, where are we going to put our money? What option is going to be the best and the safest? Maybe not in a U.S. bank or American-owned banks. However, historically, see if I can come back into focus here. The camera, it lost me, but it has like this automatic contrast feature. I don't even know if this button changes it, but let's see here. Nope. I don't know what that is. Oh, nope, don't do that. I don't know. So sometimes it loses me, sometimes it has me. But historically, foreign banks haven't had the best success in America. And in roughly the past 2 years, France's BNP Paribas and Spain's BBVA and the UK's HSBC have all sold much of their US operations. Why is that? Why is that? European banks have underperformed, having attracted second-tier staff, second-rate clients, and what a former bank boss calls a serious negative selection issue on strategy. And the problem foreign banks often run into is that they're trying to do it all. Asset management, commercial banking, sales and trading, equity research, just like they do back home. But domestic legacy lenders like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and Citigroup already cornered that everything, everywhere, all at once market a long time ago. Now these big banks, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Citigroup, they're the ones having these private talks and chats and discussions with the U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. And what are they planning on doing? What are they planning on doing? Why did my bank call me? Okay. It says last week, macro guru and hedge fund manager Hugh Hendry shared his views on the U.S. banking system. Now, I'm always interested to hear what an economist has to say about the future of the banking system, especially when it relates to cash withdrawal restrictions. And it says that the Federal Reserve's monetary policy has increased the probability that banking customers could one day face restrictions on the amount of cash that they can withdraw. And obviously, we know that this would be tied to a central bank digital currency, a digital currency that could literally be, the government wouldn't have to worry about the future of the banking system through private banks heeding the warning signs or effectively shutting off withdrawals that could ultimately just destroy our financial system, destroy our economy. Instead, the government could do that themselves at the push of a button because they control all the banks. They control the central bank, which is where all the money, all the transactions will go through. This is through a CBDC, central bank digital currency. And if we go back a year ago, he says that the probability that you would assign to this cash withdrawal restriction would be almost zero. Okay, just 1 year ago. But the problem is rising. You all know it. You know that. But why? Why is it rising? It's rising because we have experienced call it the Fed folly, is what he's labeling it. One can say factually that the Fed hiking is the fastest of the greatest magnitude that they've done, and they've never done this before. Now, we all know, and we knew this going into it, that the Fed hiking up their interest rates to tame inflation with the announcement from Jackson Hole that Jerome Powell gave us last year, saying that there will be pain felt by families and businesses. We knew that this was going to be bad. They knew it was going to be bad, but they also felt as though high inflation was going to be worse. But with high inflation, we never had the risk of money, billions, trillions of dollars fleeing the banking system overnight. We never had that issue. Now, granted, we did have other risks associated with people unable to afford the basic necessities, but coincidentally, despite the interest rates going up, that same problem still exists. The Fed isn't trying to improve financial situations. They're actually trying to make them worse, hoping that the pain felt by families and businesses will ultimately drive businesses to lower their prices, thus taming inflation. But it does nothing for you and I. It does nothing for the hardworking people of this country. It does nothing for those who are already struggling as it was. And all it does is actually make it worse and increase their likelihood and possibility of losing their jobs, losing their employment, losing their income. Now, Hendry said that the country's banking industry will likely witness a further deposit flight since customers can now easily pull out their funds with the press of a button. But us having that simple, easy ability is exactly the reason why other entities, government entities, the powers that be would prefer to have their own button. And the beauty of it is that they're going to continuously tell you that, no, that's not what it's about. No, FedNow is not the introduction to CBDC. No, we're not even interested in a central bank digital currency like these other countries are. That is a load of crap. Pure lies. Pure lies. But our government would never lie to us, right? They would never do that. They have our best interest in mind. They care about us. It almost seems like your money may even be safer in a bank in Ukraine than it would be here in the US. Does that even make sense? Speaking about the Fed's interest rate hikes, the Fed's rate hikes over the past year have created an environment that makes it attractive for depositors to take their money out of the bank and invest it in money market funds. Like if you agree. I'm not super interested in leaving my money in the bank. Now, granted, I did create a video where I explain why I would leave money in the bank, how much I would leave money in the bank, and ultimately how quickly I would look to get my money out of the bank and what I would do with it otherwise. And that was 2 months ago, maybe 3. The situation is getting far more serious today than it was then. So you might want to go check that one out. Get your money out of the bank. I think is what it was called. Get your money out of the bank. Or the banks aren't safe, one or the other. I can't remember. And I mean, it's a blanket statement. It's true. It's a risky proposition. The money you put in is no longer yours. You've essentially loaned it to the bank, hoping that they repay you. Think about that. Think about it like this. If you were to go to a bank and get a loan, right? They hope that you repay them, okay? But if you don't, they'll take legal action against you, sue you, and then get a court order legal judgment for you to repay them. Only way to really shake that would be through bankruptcy, which would ultimately destroy your life for a short period of time, many of which people are not willing to do, okay? Which bankruptcy costs money too. You got to pay for that on top of not having the money to repay loans. But if you look at it on the flip side, when you deposit money into the bank, you are loaning it to the bank. However, if the bank terminates your ability to withdraw your own money, if the bank fails, if the bank wipes out all of your deposits, what legal recourse do you have? You can sue the bank. Sure. Are they going to repay you? Probably not. Could you afford to hire an attorney to sue a large bank? Probably not. Does it even make sense to sue a bank that's out of money? Because they won't have any money to pay you. Probably not. And that's quite the dilemma that we are in right now. And the banks, they know that. They know that. They've got us cornered. But the Fed knows it too, okay? And it's all about a game. This is a little cup game. They're moving the cups around. There's no ball underneath. That's the crazy part about it. You think there's a ball underneath one of these cups, but the banks are just shuffling these cups around, and that ball would be the money. But it's not there. It's not there. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's made up. It's fictitious. The banks are not safe. Money market funds are looking better than banks, but we're going to talk about that in a future video. Now, it says that a combination of being stuck with these uncompetitive rates and now the tyranny that money can fly so quickly, the thing that's putting money out is the Fed's offering too much via money markets, and you could go to the Fed directly. Again, this is smoke and mirrors, folks. Like, the Fed puts everybody in this position, then sets up the banks to make them look bad, while people are fearing the banks and their money and these higher interest rates and inflation and everything that's going on. Yet the Fed's saying, hey, come over here, buy some, put your money over here with us. We got you. You can trust us. So what the Fed's doing is it's encouraging more and more of money to leave the banks. The Fed's doing it. Unbelievable. It really is shocking. But then, if you look at some of these international banks, some of these, like a Japanese bank, like Mizuho, they're not tied to the Fed. They're not tied to the Fed. So my bank, they wanted me to know about a special program that they had going on, and ultimately wanted to see if I'd be interested in moving some funds over into this program. All the while, Janet Yellen has been telling bank CEOs that more mergers may be necessary. Now, these are all red flags and warning signs to me of, Kevin, stay the course. Don't fall for their tricks, okay? Get your money out of the bank. So the bank's not safe. The Fed's not safe. Central bank's not safe. Money market's not safe. What do you do? Where do you go? It's a good question. It's a good question. And we've discussed this before, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, so I won't bring it up here. But these are just my thoughts, my opinions of what I'm seeing, what's happening, what's going on in the market. I'd love to get your take. Please comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. How do you feel? Have you had any communications with your bank here recently? Do you feel like as though you can trust them? Do you feel as though it's safe? What bank do you bank with? That may have some indication as to the level of comfort that you have with your bank in their past track record and history. Or maybe it's a credit union. But I think at the end of the day, there's some major changes happening, and we need to be very, very informed, but also preparing to be active and diligent in protecting all that we have now and what we could potentially have in the future. You guys take care, be safe. I'll see you real soon.